So, what is tone? Tone is the overall mood or attitude of the text. By looking at this picture, you should pretty readily guess what the tone of this little boy's day has been. To really think about tone, you have to think that it is the author's attitude, the poet's attitude, towards the subject matter of the text. For example, if I were to write a poem about poetry, my tone as an English teacher might be different than a student who has a really hard time understanding poetry. Our subject might be the same, poetry, but our tone, our attitude towards the subject matter would probably be different. Just like you talk about when someone's tone of voice can change, they can be saying the exact same thing, but if they say it in a different way, it will change the tone. There's lots of things that go into it. It's the same thing with tone in literature. So, tone is created by word choice. What kinds of words are they choosing to use? Do they choose to use words that we associate with positive things or negative things? Also, what kind of imagery do they use? If they're describing a house, is the imagery like dark and spooky, or is it bright and cheery? Sometimes irony, you can think of irony as sarcasm. So if a teacher asks you how you're doing and you go, oh, real great, right? That's irony. Poets can do that in poetry too. The other things to look for are rhythm and rhyme. As you learned before, rhythm and rhyme can give poetry a sense of feeling like music, and generally we associate music with happier tones, but not all the time. And lastly, sentence structure. Is something really formal? Is the line structure really formal and following a format that gives it a more, formal feeling? Or is it kind of all over with no structure? That can also create tone as well. So, look at this picture. What is the tone of this picture? Well, in order to figure it out, we'd have to look at lots of things. We'd have to look at what is in the picture. Looks like we got some water, we got some rocks, we got a sunset and some clouds. We also have to look at, what kind of light is in the picture. It's a soft light. Down if we look at the water looks like it's flowing pretty softly. I would say that this is a calming picture. The tone of this picture is pretty calm. Now, look at this picture. What is the tone of this picture and how is it different than the last one? Well, the sky is completely dark. Instead of just beautiful rocks kind of off in the distance, we have cliffs that have that you could fall off of. Also, we have those bright lights over to the right that look like they could kind of hurt your eyes, that you'd be staring at them. I think the tone of this picture is almost a little lonely or depressing. So just like we can talk about in literature that two poems or two texts could be about the same thing, just like those two pictures were both of the ocean, they can have different tones. This picture is another picture of the ocean and has another tone. So just make sure to remember that tone is not the subject, the main idea, or the topic of your text, poem, piece of literature. Tone is the attitude of the author towards that subject. So lastly, when you're reading and trying to find the tone, pay attention to the word choice, the imagery, the sentence structure, and even sound devices can help you find the tone of the poem or the literature.